Hi, in this video we're going to talk about the basic earnings per share. So doon naman pag-uusapan naman natin ngayon yung stockholders equity dun sa may portion dun sa balance sheet na pagkakatapos ng liabilities, no? So when you look at the balance sheet, 'di ba merong assets, liabilities and yung stockholders or shareholders equity. So dito naman natin yung pagtutuunan natin ng pansin about basic price or basic earnings per share in this video. So stay tuned. So, nakaano tayo ngayon, corporate look, no? Kasi earnings per share yung pag-uusapan natin. It's about corporation, it's about yung issuance of shares, no? Earnings per share. So, itong earnings per share or basic earnings per share, it is the amount that is applied dun sa outstanding ordinary shares ng company, no? And number one, itong ordinary shares na to, sila lang yung merong earnings per share. So yung preferred shares wala. There's no such thing as preferred basic earnings per share. So only yung ordinary shares. And incidentally, pag sinabing ordinary shares, this is synonymous with common stock. No, so this is another term for common stock, and it's also subordinate to all other classes of stock. And another one is that itong earnings per share, meron siyang dalawang computation. Merong basic earnings per share and yung diluted earnings per share. So pag-uusapan natin yung basic earnings per share muna. So another thing about earnings per share is that bakit ba tayo nagko-compute nito? Ano ba yung kahalagahan nito? Unang-una, ito ay kumbaga this is a determinant sa market price para mas magmukhang attractive yung market price ng stock. So kailangan mataas yung earnings per share para mas maraming investor na maengganyo. And of course, another thing is that kumbaga parang it's also a basis for dividend policy, itong earnings per share na to. And another thing is that ang mga nag-i-issue lang ng earnings per share is mostly puro mga publicly traded companies, yung nakikita natin sa stock exchange, no? Like Jollibee, yan yung mga malaking companies na yan, no? So meron silang earnings per share. So yung mga in the process of getting their corporation or their companies to be ipa-public na yung public yung it will become a public company, no? Open for public yung nila ng stocks, yung issuance nila ng stocks. And practically speaking, lahat ng mga publicly listed companies required to issue or required to report an earnings per share dun sa financial statement nila. Of course, yung mga non-publicly traded companies are also encouraged. Now, pag-usapan naman natin yung presentation ng earnings per share doon sa financial statement. So, itong presentation ng earnings per share sa financial statement, nakikita ito doon sa face of the income statement. So, nakalagay doon yung basic earnings per share as well as yung diluted earnings per share. Incidentally, yung diluted earnings per share, kaya tinawag na diluted kasi mayroong mga nakapasok doon na doon sa na shares na kumbaga na hindi pa na-exercise or convertible pa lang, kaya na-dilute yung computation nun. So we're going to talk about that in a later discussion. So meantime, dito muna tayo sa basic earnings per share. Now, itong another thing is that itong earnings per share ito ay naka-ano to, nandun siya, naka-present siya dun sa face amount ng income statement under dun sa continuing operations. Now, para naman dun sa discontinued operations, kailangan rin ng basic earnings per share saka diluted earnings per share. And of course, pagka let's say net loss naman, kasi hindi naman sa lahat ng panahon laging nag-i-income yung company. So, ipe-present rin nila sa income statement yung loss per share, because there's no such thing as earnings per share kung net loss yun. So, loss per share. So, both sa basic saka dun sa diluted. So, this practically encompass yung sa pagdating dun sa reporting ng earnings per share. And another thing, pagka consolidated yung statements, so kung may consolidated, para bang meron siyang may parent company tapos may subsidiary, pag sinabing consolidated, parang yung pinaka mother company, let's say si Jollibee, meron siya si Mang Inasal, si Red Ribbon. So ito, pagka consolidated yung financial statement, kailangan lang na i-disclose doon sa as a disclosure lang doon sa consolidated statements na mismo. So we're going to compute for the basic earnings per share in a while. Now, paano naman yung computation ng earnings per share? Now, as you can see here doon sa dito sa screen, the basic earnings per share. So it is basic earnings per share equals net income over ordinary share outstanding. So the net income is equal to the amount after deducting dividends on preference share. So ang ibig sabihin lang dito, tatanggalin muna yung preference share. Now, alam naman natin pag sinabing preference share, napag-aralan natin sa financial accounting and reporting, yung mga accounting students diyan, di ba yung preference share, di ba meron siyang cumulative tsaka non-cumulative. Pag cumulative, ibig sabihin yung mga binabayaran din siya dun sa mga previous na na hindi na declare na dividends, and then yung non-cumulative dun lang sa current year siya binabayaran. Now, in case na cumulative yung preference share, na kailangan i-deduct dun sa net income para makuha yung net income as the numerator, pagka cumulative, only yung current dividends lang yung kukunin natin, so regardless if it's declared or not, pag cumulative. Pagka non-cumulative naman, unless na mayroong declaration, then hindi natin siya isasama, hindi natin i-deduct dun sa net income. And another thing is that itong dito sa pag-compute ng earnings per share, pagka merong substantial changes dun sa shares, kinukuha dun sa ordinary shares, kinukuha natin yung weighted average. Now let's go dun sa computation to para mas maintindihan natin ng maayos. Ayan, kunin naman natin ngayon yung computation ng earnings per share using this example. So an entity provided the following information for the current year. So preference share, capital. Kanina kung di nyo napapansin, madalas kong mabanggit yung preferred, pero pareho lang yun ng preference, So ito kasi more on accounting term to. So preference share, capital, halatang nasa from the old school tayo. Okay, so ito yung ito yung terminology ngayon. So preference share capital, that's 100 par. 10% cumulative, that's 1 million. Ordinary share capital, that's 100 par. 50 shares for 5 million pesos. Income from continuing operations for 1.5 million. And yung income naman from discontinued operations is 500,000. So i-compute natin dito, para makuha natin yung earnings per share. So we're going to need a calculator here, So muna natin. Ang first step diyan is kukunin muna natin yung pinaka numerator niya, yung sa net income. So here's how to get it. Okay, so yung yung income from operations, Okay, income from operations. So this would be this one, ito, yung 1.5 million. Now, meron siyang yung ililess natin dito yung, alala nyo sinabi natin kanina, no, na ililess natin yung preferred dividends or preference dividends. Yan na naman ako sa preferred, no? Yan, so preferred share capital. So ililess natin dito yung preference na dividend, no? Now, if it's cumulative, ang ililess lang natin dito is the current, yung current lang na dividend. So this is how to compute for that. So this is 1 million, as we can see here. Okay, so 1 million. So multiply this by its yung percentage niya, which is 10%. So this would be, okay, mayroon na nagte-text. So this Diyan na yung delivery ko ng Grab. So as we can see here, no, so ililess natin ito. So ang magiging net income niya after deducting yung preference dividends for the current year is 1,400,000. So ito yung magiging numerator niya. So this is net income. Net income after deducting the preference share. So this is for ordinary shares na to. Ordinary shareholders. And so computing muna natin now for the EPS. So the earnings per share. So pwede natin computein. So unahin muna natin yung income from continuing operations. So this would be computed as 1,400,000 divided by yung shares, which is 50,000. So this would be, okay, how much? This would be 28. Yan. So the next one is yung income from discontinued operations. Okay, so the computation here is 500,000 divide this by 50,000 yung number of ordinary shares. So this would be 10. So yung total na niya, okay, the total EPS or earnings per share would be 38. Yan. Incidentally, kaya rin tayo nagko-compute ng basic earnings per share o yung EPS in general, yung basic and yung diluted, is because para ring makita dito paano i-strategize ng management yung corporation, kung paano nila dalhin yung kanilang corporation, because it also reflects yung management skills ng mga nandun sa corporation. So it's reflected by dun sa sa EPS na yun. Kaya kailangan maganda yung the figures there na lumalabas sa EPS. So speaking of the computation or yung figures, no? So kukumputin naman natin ngayon yung bang shares. Paano ba natin i-computein yung shares? No? So for example, this one. The shares ito yung kung yung net income yung nandun sa numerator, yung share naman yung nandun sa denominator. Okay, so let's assume this problem, illustration number 1, average shares outstanding. So kukunin natin yung average. Yung parang pinaka-weighted average siya. So January 1, beginning balance, merong 100,000 raw. And then nung May 2, may additional issuance of 150,000. And then nung September 1, there's also an additional shares of 150,000. Ayan. So kukunin natin ngayon yung dito sa computation. So simple lang yan, no? Kunin lang natin yan. Okay, so date, shares, and yung sa months outstanding. So January 1, so nag-umpisa siya ng January 1, so the shares there is 100,000. Okay, so the months outstanding there is kasi from January to December, that's 12 months, so 12. So lagay natin, so multiply lang natin yan. Let me see. Okay, just by looking at it, this could be 1.2 million. Yan, so okay, check mo lang yan. And then of course dun sa May 1, so May 1, okay, so ang additional shares niya is 150,000. So nagsimula siya nung May, so that's about May, kasi May 1 naman, so buong May na yon. May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So that's about 8 months. So multiply lang natin yan. Sige nga, ikaw na bahala dyan. So 150,000 times 8, that would be how much? Okay, so that would be also 1,200,000. Yan. Bakit 1,200,000? Basta 1,200,000. Okay, tama yan. Okay, and then next is yung September. September 1. Okay, so meron pang additional shares. So dagdag na naman ito. So i-average din natin ito. So meron siyang dagdag na 150,000 ulit, no? Okay, so September, October, November, December. So that would be 4 months. Okay, so again, compute natin. So, okay, sa ating mahiwagang calculator na nakatago. So 150,000 times 4, that would be 600,000. Yan, 600,000. See? And then, kukunin natin yung total nito. So, kung pagkuha natin ang total nito, makukuha natin, this is about 2.43 million. 3 million, yeah, 3 million. So, 3 million yung total, yung ano niyan. Pero hindi pa yun yung average. So, kukunin natin yan para makuha yung average. Okay, average shares for the year na. So, this would be 3 million divided by, of course, 12 months. No, there's 12 months in a given year. So, that would be, okay, compute natin. So, that would be around 250,000. Yeah, so 250,000. So 250,000 is the average shares. Now, meron pang isang para mas mabilis, meron pang isa pang technique na pag-compute niya, no. Instead na total mo pa yan, tapos kukunin mo pa yung pinaka-total, tapos saka mo di-divide by 12, pwede na rin natin gawing 12 over 12, 8 over 12, or 4 over 12. So, makukuha natin yun. Subukan nga natin yun. Okay, so, let me just erase this. Okay, so, tingnan natin kung 250,000 pa rin yung lalabas. So, this is, of course, 12 over 12. That would be also 100,000. Okay, and then yung kunin natin yung 150,000 para dun sa May. Okay, times 8 divided by 12. So that would be also 100,000. And then dito, 50,000 na lang. Then, compute muna natin. Okay, talagang pagpipilitan of yan. Tignan natin kung tama. 150,000 times 4 divided by 12. Sabi ko na 50,000 yan. 50,000. So this would be 250,000. So pwede rin ganun. Pwede yung first method, pwede yung second method. Now another variation would be, let's go to illustration number 2. Tignan naman natin itong another variation dito sa illustration number 2. Now dito sa illustration number 2, magko-compute ulit tayo ng average share outstanding. So kita natin yung mga dates. Now, mapapansin natin merong share dividends dito. No, so paano ba yung treatment pagka may ganyan na share dividends? Okay, there's share dividends of 20%, no? So dito, let's begin this sa January 1. So may beginning balance sa 100,000, tapos March 1 there's an issued for cash additional, so this is another 50,000 shares, and then nagkaroon ng share dividend. Now the treatment there is that yung share dividend or stock split should be treated retroactively. So, meaning, itong January 1, maapektuhan siya doon ng 20% dividend. So, lagay natin dito January 1. Okay, so January 1, ang shares niya, instead of 100,000, so 20% of 100,000 is, of course, 20,000. So, that would be 120,000. There. Tapos yung amounts outstanding niya, so padaliin na lang natin, so 12 over 12 para mabilis na. Okay, so yan. Kasi i-divide din naman natin sa 12 sa huli, so i-divide na natin dito. And then yung isa naman is yung issued for cash, so this would be March. Okay, so March 1. So March 1, that would be 50,000, so 20% of 50,000, that would be 10,000. Yeah. 10,000. Okay. 10,000 plus 50,000, that's 60,000. 60,000. So, paano yun? Ganito lang po yun. So, 50,000, so times 20%, no? That would be 10,000. So, itong 10,000 na yan, i-add mo siya dito sa 50,000 in order to get 60,000. There. So, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. That would be 10 months, so 10 over 12. Yan. So, hindi ko na kaya yan. Ikaw na mag-compute yan para sa akin. So, this would be 60,000, no? Dito sa mahiwaga nating calculator na isang tingin lang nakikita na kagad. So, 50,000. Yan. Okay. So, and then yung sa next one, yung sa November naman. November 1. So, nag-issue, treasury shares, no? So, pag sinabi treasury shares, ito yung binibili yung stocks na formerly na in-issue before. So, magiging ano yan. So, that would be a negative. Now, since after na siya nung share dividend, so this would be wala na siyang hindi na siya affected dun sa share dividend. So, this would be negative 15,000. So, that would be computation niya since November, December. So, 2 months yun kasi buong November and buong December. So, that would be 2 over 12. Okay, so that would be 2,500. 2,500. So, this would be negative. So, kunin na natin yan. So, this would be the average. So, 120 plus 50 plus 2,500. So, that would be 167,500. So this is the average for this kind of computation. Now, tignan naman natin yung isa pa, yung kung merong basic earnings per share, meron rin yung basic loss per share. So let's compute for that. Okay, let's go now to our last example. Dito naman yung basic loss per share. So kanina nag-compute tayo ng basic earnings per share, pero hindi naman sa lahat ng pagkakataon. Of course, pagka nagkaroon ng loss yung instead of net income, there's a net loss, magko-compute pa rin tayo ng earnings per share or basic earnings per share. Now, let's take this example. So, there's a net loss of 5 million. Ordinary share capital, 100 par, 100,000 shares. So, gagamitin natin mamaya yan sa computation as our denominator. So, that's 10 million, yung ordinary shares. And then, yung preference share capital, that's 100 par, 10% cumulative. So, maglalagay tayo ng ililess. Actually, i-add natin yung dividend dun sa net loss kasi, well, yun? Kasi, of course, negative, no? Okay, so, ilalagay na, we will take this into consideration later. And then, 20,000 shares convertible, so that's 2 million. So, we will compute for that, no? That will be considered in our computation. So, lagay muna natin dito net loss. So, this would be 5 million. And so, ganyan na natin, parenthesis. And then, of course, i-add natin. Okay, notice that instead of deducting yung preference share, in-add natin. Okay, because it's a loss. Yan. Preference share. There. So, ang computation nun, since this is cumulative, so kahit hindi nag-declare, sasama pa rin natin siya sa computation. Pero kung if it's non-cumulative, then we just ignore yung item na preference share para dun sa computation. Okay, so this would be 2 million. 2 million times 10%. Okay, so 10% of this one is 200,000. So this would be negative. So this would be 5,200,000. Okay, negative. So this is the net loss, of course. Net loss to ordinary shares, ordinary shareholders. Okay, and then divide this by. So divide this by. Divide this by the number of shares of common or ordinary shareholders. Okay, so this would be divided by 100,000. Okay, so magkano ilalabas dyan? So this would be 52. Okay, so 52. This is the loss or basic loss per share. Basic loss per share. Now, assuming it is a non-cumulative, so hindi natin isasama yan. So, palagay natin dito, no? So, okay, 5 million. So, assuming this, let's assume that it is non-cumulative. Okay, let me just get the phone right here. Yes, yeah, man. Yeah, gumagawa ko sa akong video eh. Okay, so if it's non-cumulative, ganito lang yan. So, kukunin natin yung ano, assuming this is non-cumulative, yung preference share. Non-cumulative preference share. Okay, so this is 5 million. Ganun pa rin yung, of course, in the net loss. So, hindi, instead na i-take into account natin yung preference share, so wala na yan, no? So, this would be 5 million. So, diretso na siya, 5 million. Yan. So, divide this by the number of ordinary shareholders or ordinary shares. So, this would be 50 pesos. So, that would be the basic loss per share for the ordinary shares. Now, okay, so if you have any questions, just try to comment on the comment section. And if you have any topic that you want us to discuss, so i-discuss rin natin yan. Okay, so God bless. Of course, before I forget, of course, subscribe. Huh? God bless. Take care and stay safe and keep your hands clean.